The weekly code quiz. Last week, we were introduced to two new properties, background position and background size. What do we need to know to use the background position property? The background position property sets the initial position for each background image. In order to grasp background position, we also have to define background origin and background attachment. What does the background origin property do? The background origin property sets whether the background's origin is relative to the border box, relative to the padding box, or relative to the content box. The default is from the padding box. The property accepts the global values of inherit, initial, revert, and unset, which have been described previously, but otherwise has the following values: background origin, border box, background origin, padding box, and background origin content box. Note, the background origin property will be ignored if the background attachment is fixed, and we will review this in the next episode. Let's look at some examples. This is the HTML with which we are working. How do we set a background origin as a border box? In section 1, we will demonstrate background origin as border box. How do we set a background image as a padding box? In section 2, we will demonstrate background origin as padding box. How do we set a background origin as a content box? In section 3, we will demonstrate background origin as content box. In each section, we have created a div with a unique ID to target with our CSS. Let's look at the CSS for the first example, border box. Keep in mind, in order for you to visualize the difference between border box and padding box, we have to exaggerate the values, and none of these things are what you would ever want to do from a design perspective. With border box, the image will be positioned at the outer edge of the border. This is how it would display. With padding box, the image will be positioned at the inner edge of the border, and it would look like this. And finally, because we have added 50 pixels of padding using the content box, we'll have the image begin where the content is inset because of the padding. See the result here. How do we combine this property with gradients? You can also use this property with gradients that we just learned about. Here is the HTML, and here is the CSS. In this example, we are combining a linear gradient that will begin at the inner edge of the padding and a radial gradient in the content box. We are indicating the colors using a color system that we have not yet gone over in depth, the RGBA system. Primarily, it's because we are setting a less than 100% opacity for our linear gradient to help our radial gradient show through. You specify the amount of red, green, and blue colors first, and then the last number is A, which stands for opacity. Any value less than 1 is less than opaque. This is how this would display. Next, we will discuss background attachment. Presented by Designers Learn Code.